Okay, jumping right along to 6.5, the exercise set that gets you to do a whole bunch of word problems. The first one, second one, third one, and fourth one. See if we can do all four of these in one video to the lovely background sound of lunch being made. Okay, the first one says find two consecutive whole numbers so that the sum of their squares is 130. Well, two consecutive whole numbers means that we've got x and we've got x plus 2, because consecutive odd whole numbers, they're going to be 2 apart, so x and x plus 2. So find the two of them so that the sum of their squares is 130. In other words, x squared plus x plus 2 squared equals 130. Not going to bother solving that one for you, that's really all you need, because that's the equation. Look at number 2. Number 2 says the sum of a number and 3 times its reciprocal is 4. What numbers have this property? Well, the sum of a number and 3 times its reciprocal is 4. So a number, we'll call it x. Its reciprocal, therefore, would be 1 over x, and 3 times its reciprocal would be 3 over x. So the sum of those two is x plus 3 over x, and that's supposed to equal 4. What numbers have this property? Well, we'd have to solve for x and stuff. I mean, I could take a couple of well, let's see. First of all, we'll multiply both sides of this by x, and so we have x squared plus that thing times x turns into 3. That thing times x equals 4x. Put it all over on the same side of the equation, so we take minus 4x from both sides. X squared minus 4x plus 3 equals 0. And then we have something that we can do something with. Use the quadratic formula. Maybe you can factor it. Maybe you can sum of the squares or whatever. Actually, you can factor that, but I'll let you figure out how to do that. Number 3 says the length and width of a rectangular sheet of plywood is 4 feet by 8 feet. These guys aren't very metric. How much must be added equally to the length and width to double the area? Well, let's see. 4 foot by 8 foot plywood, we want to double the area. So the area right now is 32. That's 4 times 8. So we want the new area to be 64. So we're going to add to the width and add to the length by the same amount. So the new thing is going to be 4, or the new width or whatever is 4 plus whatever we add, we'll call that x, multiplied by the new length, which used to be 8, but we're going to add x. So when we do the new length times width, it's going to equal twice of what it used to be. It used to be 32, it's going to be 64, and we have to solve for that. Now, that's going to be interesting for you because you can FOIL this through and you get 32 plus 8x plus 4x plus x squared equals 64, and if we reformulate that into the shape that we like, we get x squared plus 12x minus 32 equals 0. I just moved the 64 onto this side. And that, I'm sorry to say, you cannot factor. So you're going to have to use the square root property, or maybe you'll have to complete the squares, or maybe you'll use the quadratic formula, or whatever it is you do, you're going to actually end up with an ugly radical in this, but so it is. Go for it. Number 4 is a good old physics problem. Two planes travel at right angles to each other, and after leaving the airport at the same time. After an hour, the planes are 390 kilometers apart, and if one plane travels 210 kilometers an hour faster than the other, what is the speed of the slower plane? So we've got ourselves a right angle triangle, which one plane, they're leaving the airport here at the 90-degree vertex, and one plane is going 210 kilometers faster than the other. Let's assume that the one that goes the longer distance is going 210 kilometers faster. So they're traveling for 1 hour, so if this one travels x in 1 hour, this one will travel x plus 210 in 1 hour. And after 1 hour, they're 390 kilometers apart. So now we have our right angle triangle, and good old Pythagoras told us that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And remember that c squared is this line here, the hypotenuse. So that means that a squared, or x squared, plus b squared, which is that stuff, x plus 210 squared, equals c squared, which is 390 squared. And I'm not going to bother with that because that's a lot of big numbers and I don't have a calculator here. But you can just, you know, do what you do. Turn this into general form quadratic and solve it either by factoring or by completing the square and then using the square root property or by using the quadratic formula. I suggest with something this complicated that you go ahead and check the discriminant to see if there's a, well, there's got to be a solution, but check the discriminant to make sure that this all makes sense.